Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Surfer's Journey. In today's episode, I'm going to break down some recent point of view footage and show you some key learning points from that session. And guys, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe now so you can stay up to date with all of my latest videos and tutorials. But for now, let's get into today's lesson of the week. So while there were a couple of really fun waves this session, I made a couple of mistakes, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to highlight why I made those mistakes and how we can fix them in the future. These mistakes are really common amongst beginner to intermediate level surfers. I'm going to show you what they are and then compare them to a correct example to show you what you need to do to avoid those mistakes in the future. In this example, the reason I fell was all because of incorrect weight distribution. You can see here, things are looking pretty good. I've set up for this re-entry. And as I've gone to complete that maneuver, you can see that I didn't bring my front foot underneath my body. This has caused me to lean backwards too far and ultimately fall off from that maneuver. Incorrect use of where I'm looking in rotation also played a part, but we'll have a closer look at that in another example later. Now let's compare that to a good example. You can see I've set up and it's looking pretty similar. But this time, I've pulled my front leg underneath me and compressed, and I've extended out my back leg. I've also looked down towards the beach to where my nose is going to go. By changing where I was looking, it helped bring that board underneath me as well. In this example, we see a couple of other mistakes being performed. You can see that as I was going along the wave, this section was right here. Now I should have just done a cutback or a carve on that section. Instead, I kept racing down the line because I thought that there were going to be sections down there. I overthought it and I preempted. The mistakes I made here was that I should have just stayed in the pocket close to the power source instead of racing too far out onto the face. And as I approached this section here to perform a re-entry, you can see that I didn't generate enough lift to put the surfboard on top of that section. And consequently what happened was my board ended up underneath the lip. This threw off my balance and made the board bog down. On this example on my backhand, we can see a similar thing. You can see me bottom turning up and about to perform a re-entry on this section. Things are looking pretty good at this stage, but here we see no lift on the surfboard. So instead of being on top of that section, it was actually underneath it. In this example here, you can see me doing the correct technique. As I come out of that bottom turn, I'm extending my body, I'm throwing my arms up. This generates lift to put the surfboard on top of the section. By using those methods of extension, by extending your body out of the bottom turn and throwing your arm up, you can create lift with your surfboard to put it on top of a section. This example highlights one of the most common mistakes that any surfer makes from beginner, intermediate and advanced, and that all comes back to poor wave selection. That wave was a closeout, so why was I bothering? We shouldn't waste time catching subpar waves. It's worth waiting that little bit longer and being able to say no to those average waves. By saying no to average waves, we can keep ourselves in a better position to catch that good wave when it comes. If we get desperate and catch every single wave we can, we're only going to end up getting frustrated and waste our energy. In this example here, I was aiming to do a reverse off the lip here. So what actually happened to make it unsuccessful? Well, at this stage here, things are looking pretty good. I've got my board in a good position and I've found that nice coping section. But the mistakes here were in my timing and my positioning. You can see that as I'm positioning myself for this section, what I'm aiming for is to get thrown forward with the wave. In that previous example, I was too early. So to do it better, what you need to do when you go to hit a section is remember that we want to get pushed forward with the momentum of the wave. If we don't aim to get pushed forward when we perform a maneuver, then we're going to get left behind as the wave moves forward and we end up falling off the back. Let's have a look at that move from the beach. You can see that as I've spotted this section, I'm making sure to hit it later this time. You can see that because the section's bigger and it's broken more. This has allowed the wave to push me forward and complete my rotation of that reverse. Timing and positioning when you perform maneuvers is critical. In one of the earlier examples, we saw similar mistakes taking place. You can see that I've gone up to perform a re-entry. I've spotted that section and bottom turned up, but you can see there's no lift, so the board was underneath the white water. But what I want to focus on here is that incorrect rotation and where I'm looking. I was looking at the back of that wave, and you could see that my arms didn't rotate to where I wanted to go. What we can see here is 3 examples of correct rotation. As I go to hit that section, you can see that my torso is rotating and I'm looking down to the bottom of the wave. This is correct rotation, and it's what we should do when we go to perform a re-entry. Here we also see an example of how to create lift. I want to do a foam climb here. So from that semi-crouch position, I extend my legs, my torso, and my arms, which allows me to generate lift to put that surfboard up onto the foam. And setting up for this final turn, we can see that correct rotation again. And I'm looking to where I want to go, but you have to continue that rotation as the maneuver goes through. You can see that I pulled my front leg back underneath me, and I'm going to compress low onto my front leg and extend my back leg. And once I've finished the move, compress low. Remember to look and point to where you want to go. It's that simple. In this example on my backhand, we can see the same technical points at play. Look at the rotation. I'm looking back down, so the further we look, the more rotation we get. And where we look and where we point, the board follows. You can see that nose of my board was going in the same direction to where I was looking. I want to create lift again to put my board on top of that section. So I extend my legs, I extend my torso, and I throw my arms up, pointing to where I want to go. This generates lift in my surfboard to put it on top of that section. I then rotate back down by looking and rotating down towards the bottom of the wave. Of course, mistakes are not a bad thing. It's how we learn and how we develop. But by knowing what these common mistakes are and how to fix them, hopefully your progress will be fast-tracked. Guys, thanks for watching the video today. I hope that this breakdown of that point of view footage helps you in some way, and that some of those key points you can use the next time you go surfing. Remember to like the video and comment below to let me know what other videos you'd like to see. Thanks guys, catch you in the water.